Hey everyone, today we're painting a cute ladybug, perfect for beginners, super fun to make, and while we paint I'll share some fun facts about our little friends, and some of them might even surprise you. So grab your brushes and let's get started. Very simple straight line to start with here, and it's going to kind of look like I'm going to do a half circle, but we're going to tweak it a little bit. Just grabbing a little more paint because I'm still getting used to this new paper I'm working with, still loving it so much, but just not super familiar with how much water and paint I need to have on my brush. But yeah, loving this sketchbook so much. It's the first sketchbook that I actually like. Okay, you can see I'm just kind of doing a little slanted line here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all good. We're going to somewhat mirror that on the other side now. And don't worry about perfection unless you're a perfectionist. And in that case, I really can't help you because I don't know about all that. But I would encourage you, if you can, just embrace the wonk, embrace any imperfections. It's all fun. We're just having fun. All right, I've added some water to my brush. I didn't clean it off or anything, just added some water to fill it in, making it easier to put the paint on here, and just gonna kind of have a nice wash on this first layer for our ladybug. Kind of looks like a sideways tulip at this point, but it's okay. It's going to look like a ladybug, I promise. Let that completely dry before adding anything else. And that little line there, I just realized I had the wrong brush. I've been using a size 6. I accidentally grabbed my size 2, so grabbing my size 6 again, and we're going to go ahead and fill this in. The first fun fact I want to share with you while I'm just putting a second layer of paint on here is that ladybugs have tiny little hairs on their legs to taste their food. So they actually taste their food by walking on it. How weird is that? I had no idea. Nobody ever told me these things, but I thought that was fun. Oh, and they use their feet to smell. So they have sensors on their feet that detect the smells around them, which I just thought was so cool. Okay, up here, I am going to be leaving a highlight. I'm going to show you a couple ways to put highlights on our little beetle friend. And the first one is just I'm leaving a little spot here. See that? So I'm not going to put our second layer of paint. We're just letting that first layer of paint show through so it's lighter than the rest. So that is one way to do it. And then in a little bit, I will show you how we'll add more highlights. But in the meantime, let that completely dry. And I have decided to just come completely down the middle. Well, not completely. It's not perfect, but pretty much down the middle. And I'm just going to add a third layer of paint to kind of the bottom portion of our page, which would be the right side of our ladybug. And just filling that in, and we're going to leave the top as is for now. Unrelated to our highlights, did you know that some ladybugs can glow in the dark? I had no idea, again. Okay, that is dry now, and so I'm coming in with the black. And it's important to let the red dry before you add the black, unless you want the colors to blend. But if I left the red wet, that black would just bleed right into it, and that can actually be a cool effect. So feel free to experiment however you would like. And now I'm adding the head, and actually before the head, that little black section I added before that is called the pronotum, which I learned today. And the pronotum it kind of acts like a little shield that covers the top of the thorax, which is like the middle section of the ladybug's body. But yeah, we could call it the collar if you don't want to use big words today. All right, you can see that I'm kind of trying to lift paint out. So I've dried my brush on my paper towel because I was trying to kind of show a distinction between the head and the pronotum. But look, that's how it dried. Not what I was going for. Although this could be nice too. It's just a nice washed out kind of abstract look. I don't know. But I wanted to darken it up some more. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more black to the head, and noting that some people don't like using black watercolor paint. They just think it's very inappropriate, and they like to mix their own black colors. And that is so great. I do that sometimes too, but it's also so great if you just want to take black right out of the pan. All good. It's not that deep, people. It is not that deep. Okay, so to me, okay, some people it is deep. Some people it's serious, but it's not to me. I'm not trying to get into any galleries or win any contests. Okay. I left a couple of highlights there, FYI. And now I've got a Micron size 5 pen to show you one of the ways that you can fill in the dots is just using a pen. And if you know you're not using any other paint, you don't have to have a special pen. It can be a Sharpie pen. But if you are adding more paint at any point, even if it's just splatters or something, you want to be careful because otherwise it'll just run and bleed. And if that's not what you're going for, you don't want that. I have decided I want paint instead of pen for my spots. So I grabbed my size 2 brush, grabbed black right out of the pan, and I am filling in my spots that way because there's more coverage and it's faster. You could get more coverage with a pen, it just takes longer. So whatever you'd like to do there. And just adding spots, I'm not going from a reference photo, I'm just kind of doing the spots as they appeal to me. Like I mentioned, I love this paper. I also love the Winsor Newton paints that I've been using. I started using them at the same time I'm using this paper. So getting used to both of them, loving both of them. I'm going to go ahead and fill in that circle, the dot that I did with pen first, just to give it some more coverage there. And then let all those dry. It's hard to tell, but I did. And I'm going to come in with my pen again and just draw a line down the center-ish and to differentiate the wings. And then I'm also going to kind of fan it out towards the bottom to just indicate that maybe the wings are starting to separate and maybe our little friend is about to take flight. And I want to take note about how I'm holding my pen. I'm going to hold it up high because I like wonky lines. If you want more control of your pen, you can hold it closer down to the tip of the pen, the nib. But again, I like my lines. I kind of like it when they go rogue a little bit. So I'm going to just do that. And you can see they are going rogue. And I'm going to go around it again, still holding my pen up high it kind of gives it a sketchy feel, like a nice sketch, not sketchy like sus, but just like, yeah, like I sketched it. Okay, now I'm adding some scribbly lines on just this lower part of our page on the right side of the ladybug, because that's going to kind of be in the shadow, just like how I left it a darker red. And that'll make sense here in a little bit. All right, adding some antennae. And then we will add the legs. We've got the 4 legs, and 4 F-O-R-E, not 4 legs. It has 6 legs, but the 4 legs, the mid legs, and then the hind legs. And there's no rhyme or reason. I don't really know what ladybug legs look like. So I'm just kind of scribbling them, still holding my pen pretty far up there. And I decided to make our little wing separation a little more prominent. And I don't know, I just like it. It looks good to me. Do what you would like. And I also want our legs to be a little more noticeable as well. So just adding a little bit of black to each of the legs. This is obviously optional. So much of the fun for me in doing wonky art and not realistic art is just license to play. It doesn't have to look like a photo. And I love that. It makes me happy. I probably don't have the talent to make it look like a photo, but literally my brain does not want it to look like a photo. Okay. Jelly roll, size 10, bringing in my white gel pen here. And remember, I left that little highlight in, and now I'm going to show you another way to add highlights, because I actually want my light source to be coming from up here. And so let me just show you. So if I set something down here, you can see the shadow underneath it because I'm sitting in front of a window. So the shadow is like that, and I'm also going to add a shadow under our ladybug. But first, the highlights, just adding them where I think the light might hit it from the window there, and a little bit up in the head area, and just all throughout the body. Whatever looks good to you, just play with it. You can see I just tweak. That's what we do around here. We tweak as we go and don't worry about too much, right? All right, now I have Payne's Gray on my brush, and it got way too saturated, so I'm actually tapping my brush on my paper towel to try to lift some of that paint off, and it didn't really do it. So I'm just going with it right now, and I will dilute it here in a little bit. But being a little bit careful along the edge of the ladybug, just because I do want the shadow to touch that portion of the ladybug so that it's a little more realistic, although again, never going for realism. But all right, so I've just added a little bit of water to my brush, again, to dilute that paint a little bit because we want it to look like a shadow. I don't want it to be totally black although Payne's gray is not black, so it wouldn't be. But sometimes if you have too much paint on it, it can look that way. All right, adding a little bit of shadow to our legs as well. And you'll see, I'm just tweaking here the shadow because the shadow is very thin right now. And if you remember when I put my little thumb drive up there, it was a very big shadow. Ours doesn't have to be that big, but I do want it to be bigger than this. So I'm going to play with it here in a little bit. And I'm really just experimenting. So I have more water on my brush and I'm just playing because I haven't done this a whole lot. So we're just playing with it and smoothing things out and diluting things a little bit. And just again, until I like what I see. And I still don't like what I see. And therefore, I shall keep playing. Oh, another fun fact I learned is that ladybugs can be different sizes. Now, I knew kind of in general they would be different sizes, but some are as small as a pinhead, while others can be nearly half an inch long, which I thought was incredible. All right, I've cleaned my brush off and just added water, and maybe you saw I kind of started outside of the shadow, and then I just kind of worked my way in to touch the paint that's on the paper and just letting it bleed out a little bit, smoothing the line, making our shadow a little bit wider. And I think this is really where it starts to create some dimension. What do you think? And while I'm tweaking that, let me tell you, did you know ladybugs communicate through squeaking or making little noises by rubbing their wings together? And they do that especially when they're feeling threatened. I thought that was so fun. I just learned so much. If I ever learned this stuff, either when I was homeschooling my kids or as a child myself, I didn't remember one bit of it. So it was really fun for me to read about them. Okay, I'm going to leave you now with a few more fun facts, and I'm going to write them out as I talk about them. So, yes, they are helpful gardeners. They eat pesky little insects like aphids that can damage our plants, and they can actually eat up to 5,000 aphids in their lifetime. That's incredible, especially considering the average lifespan of a ladybug is like 1 year. Okay, red, orange, yellow, black. These are the different colors that ladybugs can be. And their spots can vary a lot as well. Now, sometimes people have thought that the spots are for counting how old a ladybug is, and that is incorrect. The number of spots doesn't tell the ladybug's age, but it can usually help identify the species of the ladybug. And surprisingly to me, there are about 5,000 different species of ladybugs. What? And yes, like I just wrote there, they can play dead. When they're threatened, they can fall to the ground and play dead, or they release yellow fluid that tastes bad to predators. And they can sleep in super large groups. During the winter, they gather in big, like clusters to keep warm and survive in the cold months. And they live on every continent except Antarctica, which shows just how adaptable they are. So, so cool. Okay, that is a wrap on our little ladybug painting and some cool facts to go along with it. I hope you try this. I hope you enjoy it if you do. And if you give it a try, you know I love to see your artwork. So don't forget to share it with me. You can share it either tag me on Instagram, you can DM me on Instagram, you can email me, or just leave a comment here and let me know you tried it. Okay, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.